Dungeons & Dragons is perhaps the most popular tabletop role-playing game of all time. I could not think of a single TTRPG that tops it in that regard. Currently, D&D is in its 5th edition, which is a fantastic game. The system is easy for new players to pick up for the first time and has great portions of depth for long-time gamers to explore, except in Ranger. But, like I said, this is D&D's 5th edition. If you've been playing it for a few years and maybe wanting to spice things up a bit, but you still want both Dungeons and Dragons in your game, well, might I introduce you to my longtime lover and system that popped my TTRPG's cherry, D&D 3.5. I play in some 5e games like everyone else, and I nearly exclusively DM for 3.5. The system is just so crunchy and robust. I love seeing what ridiculous characters my players come up with. So if you've been playing 5e and you want to switch things up a little bit, this guide will be for you. This may be a series of videos where I explain different aspects of the system, including classes and races and such, but for now, I just want to talk about the basic mechanics and how they kind of differed from 5e to 3.5. This video is also written with an assumption that you have at least, baseline knowledge of 5e. I would also like to mention that the entire 3.5 Player's Handbook, DMG, and First Monster Manual is all on a site called d20srd.org, which is free and awesome and super useful. I use it all the time. It helps me run my games so much. I actually don't have those books at all. I have a Player's Handbook, but I don't have a DMG, and I don't have a Monster Manual, or the First Monster Manual for 3.5, and I'm still able to run my homebrew campaigns no problem. So I would highly recommend checking that out. Without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing I want to discuss is ability scores and feats. So in 5e, feats are a thing you take instead of an ability score improvement. Those improvements are based on your class progression and is slightly different between classes. Usually everyone gets an improvement at 4th level, but after that it's kind of a crapshoot. Feats are usually powerful abilities that provide a lateral progression. This means none really supersede any others, and a player can take a feat whenever it's available to them, which gives them some new ability or bonus that they wouldn't have otherwise received. This is pretty different in 3.5. In this system, ability score improvements are based on your character level, not your class level, so every 4 levels you get an ability point to do whatever you want with it. Doesn't matter if you take one level of 4 different classes, at level 4, you get your ability score improvement. Period. Feats also aren't something you choose like an extra little bonus kind of thing. They're debatably the most fundamental aspect of what makes your character unique, besides your ability scores themselves. This is also based off of character level, not class. You receive a feat at 1st, 3rd, and every 3 levels after. Humans start with an extra feat on top of that. Unlike 5th edition, you can't just take any feat whenever you want. Many of the really good feats are a part of what are referred to as feat chains. Many feats have prerequisites that you must hit in order to take them. This could be a minimum ability score, or, more commonly, another feat. This is where chains form, and you usually want to find a progression that fits what you're hoping to specialize in. As an example, let's look at dodge and mobility. In order to take mobility, you must first take dodge. This has a prereq of Dex 13 and allows you to designate an opponent and receive +1 AC from attacks made against them. Once you take dodge, you're available to take mobility at the next available opportunity. Mobility gives you a +4 AC bonus against any attack of opportunity made against you, keeping in mind that in 3.5, attacks of opportunity are made both moving in and coming out of threat range. Once you have mobility, you can then take Bounding Assault, Combat Archery, Elusive Target, Improved Flyby Attack, Flow Blow, Whirlwind Attack, Mighty Leaping, Mobile Defense, Rapid Blitz, Roof Walker, Shot on the Run, Sidestep, Spring Attack, Wolf Pack, and Psionic Sidestep. Granted, all of these have other prereqs, but you may not meet them if you only take dodge and mobility, but I think it illustrates well how branching paths kind of work. Now that feats are out of the way, let's talk about skills for a second, before we go into the differences of the system itself. Skills in 5e are based off of proficiency bonus and the ability score of that skill. This is incredibly easy and streamlined, but I personally am not the biggest fan of it. There's only a handful of skills, but most people think that it's a pretty good number. And if you're someone who likes to optimize your ability scores, it's likely that someone of a similar mindset playing the same class will have a similar skill number to you. Great Weapon Fighter at 3rd level is more than likely going to have an Athletics of 7, and a Rogue at 6th level will usually have a Stealth of 16. Of course, it isn't always the case, but unless you're trying to build heavily against type, it's a real probability. Skills are admittedly more complicated in 3.5, but I feel as those skills are my own. I'm the one filling this out. I am not simply putting in a proficiency bonus and looking at the appropriate number that goes there. I'm making a choice as to what my character is good at. I'm allocating skill points. There's no proficiency bonus to help you out here. Instead, you get skill points every level based on your intelligence modifier. That's right. Int isn't just for wizards here. Being smart actually does something for your character. At your first level, you get a good amount of extra skill points to start you off. I hope you remember your PEMDAS, because this ranges from parentheses 2 plus int close parentheses times 4 to parentheses 6 plus int close parentheses times 4. This is based on the amount of skills that you're proficient in from your class. The fighter, for example, only has 7 total proficient skills, whereas the bard has 34 proficient skills. Granted, 10 of those are the knowledge skills, but still, 34! That's so many skills. That's so fucking many. At level 2 and every level after it, you get just the part that's in parentheses. You don't get that bonus skill points through multiclassing, so keep that in mind and plan ahead. The way skills work is you can put these skill points anywhere you want, even if you're not proficient in them, with the exception of Tumble and Lockpick, and I think 1 or 2 others. And it will boost that skill. The only downside to putting points into things you're not proficient in is that it takes double the amount of skill points to see the result, meaning in order to gain 1 in that skill, you have to sacrifice 2 skill points, which makes sense. You can also only buff a skill to 3 plus your character level in order to avoid you being too good at a low level, so if you're a 5th level wizard, the most you can have in Spellcraft is 8 plus your int. There's also this really cool thing called skill synergies. Basically the way it works is, if you have 5 ranks in a specific skill, it boosts other skills by +2. For example, if you put 5 ranks in Bluff, you get a +2 in Diplomacy, Disguise, Intimidate, and Sleight of Hand. They're a handy little chart that you can find on the SRD, and you can look at it. I'm going to go into specifically what each skill does, because then I would be here for literal hours trying to explain that to you, and I'm not going to do it, at least not now. Alright, now time for a little bit of system crunch. Without getting into super uber specifics, let's go over the general design philosophy here. I think this is best displayed in the differences between advantages and disadvantages in the two systems. In 5e, for advantage and disadvantage, you roll 2 dice and either take the higher or lower value, depending on if you have a prefix or not. In this system is highly reliant on dice and cosmic fate. You can do everything right, get advantage on the roll, and still fail by getting 2 nat 1s. You can fuck up super royally, get disadvantage on the roll, but still succeed with 2 nat 20s. It's unlikely, but it's still a very possible situation. The number of dice also never increase depending on the situation, and the way the book is written, even if you have a dozen disadvantage conditions and 1 advantage condition, they cancel each other out and it's just a straight roll. 3.5 on the other hand, advantages is a solid +2, and disadvantage is a -2. The best thing about this though, is that these conditions stack indefinitely. That means if players are smart and plan ahead, they can make it so failure is mathematically impossible. Overall, 5e is much more dependent on the will of the dice, whereas 3.5, you can brute force your way into success if you work hard enough at it. Okay, well, that's kind of all I wanted to cover for this one. Just kind of a simple rundown of kind of the big mechanical differences between 3.5 and 5e. Again, 3.5 is just my preferred system to run in. I still love 5th edition. I think it's fantastic, and the way that it's been able to bring in so many new people into the community, awesome. I think that is fan-fucking-tastic. It's great. But I don't know, there's just something about the hostility of 3.5 that I really, really enjoy. But yeah, that's another thing. There are no death saving throws in 3.5. That's a 5e thing. If you reach 0, you're unconscious, and if you go down to -10 hit points, you're dead. So it's a very real possibility that you can just die in 1 hit if they take you down too much. So I think that's really cool. It's definitely a different... it inspires a different type of play, much like... I think it's a good mix between the brutality of the older editions and the kind of power trip that is higher level 5th edition. So yeah, thank you for watching and stuff. I think I'm going to do something on the classes as well, and just go through each of them and kind of talk about the differences between 3.5 and 5e, and kind of talk about a little bit on the whole subclasses and the difference between subclasses and prestige classes in 3.5, just because I've been, planning my next 3.5 campaign. I've been thinking about it a lot, to the point where I haven't been making my gaming videos, so I was like, fuck it, I'll kill two birds with one stone, talk about D&D and make a video out of it. I'm technically still working on a Halo video, but that's been very slow going. We'll see if I ever finish it. If not, whatever, fuck it, who cares. Yeah, thanks so much for watching. I know this was short, but that's fine. Yeah, I want you to lick that subscribe button and caress the like, and give just a little nipple twist to the bell. That'd be nice. Yeah, just a little sensible nipple twist. Yeah, thanks so much for watching. Fuck you. See you later. Bye.